On 27th October 1969, JaRamogi Oginga Odinga was placed under house arrest. This led me to explain what a house arrest is, plus what detention without trial is. Or if you are a Kenyan, what house arrest was and what detention without trial was. A lot of people are placed in both detention and house arrest. But today I'll just talk about the two, the similarities and the differences. Now, why was JaRamogi Oginga Odinga placed under house arrest? He was placed under house arrest because at that time he was old. It was a must that he had to be detained, but he was old. So the government felt that placing him in jail, he may die. And you see, dying in jail may bring even a civil war in the country. So it was decided that JaRamogi Oginga Odinga be placed under house arrest. I said I'm going to talk about house arrest and detention without trial. These things used to be there in Kenya, but today they are not there. But we are going, and we have to leave the new generation with the information. Sometimes I get annoyed. Sometimes I get annoyed when I meet young people. I'll give a few examples. Looking at me in the face, telling me about things that happened that I participated in, and they tell me, no, it was this way and that way. And then I mean, how did you know it? We read those in the documents in the office. There are various things that happened. And for example, one time I visited the National Police Service Commission when it was still in along Wayaki Way. And somebody was talking of a Form 6 course, claiming that Kilonzo started it. And you know, Kilonzo became an inspector of police in 1988 in January. And those courses started in 1980, 4 years earlier. I've also seen a few hours ago the story about it was on KTN, telling the truth or something like that, whereby the deputy managing editor of KTN says that the then DC for Kiambu, Fred Mwango, was it Kiambu or Muranga, saw a teacher carrying a Marxist book. And no, actually what happened was there was a meeting about Githunguri cooperative. It has always had problems even today. And when you are in that meeting, you know, you even today during press conferences, somebody stands up and says, reporter so and so from NTV. So this fellow said he was a teacher, and then the DC was happy that this fellow would give pro-government views, but he blasted the government, and he had a goatee. So Mwango was annoyed, was not annoyed because of the goatee or anything, but because a teacher whom he had expected that would would tell the government issues was now telling against the government. You know, primary school teachers are usually, or even secondary, they or nearly always are placed in their home area. So when he stood, he asked for permission to talk. He said he's a teacher, and Mwango was happy that he was going to give resolutions as per the government wanted. But he reasoned like a native. You know, he has a farm there and whatever. Then when Mwango saw that he had beards, he said, na kwa nini unakuwa na ndevu namna hiyo? That is how it was. So we have cases where We who were there, we who noticed, or like JaRamogi's thing, he was arrested when I was in Standard 2. But you see, when we joined the government, the information was still fresh. The government was fearful that by detaining him, they would by detaining him, they would he would die. So they felt that house arrest was better. But for the purpose of this, I'll talk about both house arrest and detention without trial, where we used to say compare and contrast. In both cases, that is in house arrest and detention without trial, two things used to happen. Two things were obvious. One, no trial before a competent court of law. House arrest, detention without trial, no being taken to court. And then again, when you are placed under house arrest, or if you are placed in detention, there was no term limit. You see, in jailing somebody, even if it is 20 years, you complete 3 years and you are still remaining with 17. But if you see those people who were detained and those who were under house arrest, it used to be indefinite. And you see, for you to be like JaRamogi was under house arrest in JaRamogi was under house arrest in somewhere Kisumu. Uh, so the person who used to supervise him, was the District Security Committee of Kisumu, headed by the district commissioner. So the district commissioner would monitor him every now and then. And when the house arrest is about to be when he's about to be released from house arrest, even the district commissioner Kisumu did not know. I want to say this. I just want to add something small about JaRamogi's house arrest. Is that there is a DO. There is a DO who had been allocated duties by the district commissioner to be the provincial administration person on the ground to JaRamogi. But it was discovered that this DO used to pass information. JaRamogi would give him papers and he would take it out. And if I remember one day that DO's name, he later became a politician and even entered the politics. I think he was from Coast. So I said in house arrest, the person so arrested would not be allowed to leave the compound. Yes, house arrest was not for the poor people. Actually, how many people were placed in house arrest? Anyway, house arrest, you had to have your own compound. You had to have your own compound that it would be surrounded by very many police so that you cannot leave your compound. That is, when it comes to security, it will be very secure because these watchmen we have, sometimes we have even cases where the watchman can leave very early. As you sleep, the watchman can go home, and very early in the morning he comes back. So your house is properly guarded to make sure nobody you don't leave the compound. If it was very necessary for you, you would be taken to the hospital or wherever you are required under very tight security. Let's say, for example, I don't know of any case of wedding. I don't know of any case of wedding. I know of cases of like funeral or whatever. You'd find you'll be seated aside, surrounded by 3 or 4 police officers in uniform, and the funeral would continue. But people may even, the speakers here may even point that you are there and whatever, but you'll not be given chance even to greet people. You'll just be there present. So if it was very necessary, you would be taken to the hospital or wherever you are required under tight security. Concerning visitors, now you are not allowed to visit out, isn't it? What about visitors who visit you in that compound? Apart from your immediate family and domestic employees, you were given a fixed number of visitors per trip, and you were told how many trips outsiders were allowed to visit you per visit and per month. For example, you'd be told every visit you'll get five visitors. You are not supposed to be visited by more than five people. That is per visit. Also, you'll be told maybe you are allowed for one visit a week, and there is also the time limit. The visitors cannot come in the morning and leave in the evening. Okay, you are allowed to have visitors for 3 hours. You are given, let's say, 3 hours. So you are only allowed five people. Outside there, uh, or even your spouse is the one who will talk to the security people on which of the 20 people are standing out, the five most important, the other 15 watafika tu kwa gate na warudi. So they used to do that, they used to have the five people come. That is a number I've just guessed, fixed number and a fixed time. You'd be told no more. Yeah, it used to be said no more than, no more than. That one would be placed in your restraining order. It used to be called restraining order. You'd be told no more people than so much. And then you'll be told maybe you'll be having visitors only once a week or once a month or once a fortnight. So if they said once a week, which day of the week? And that day, those people will come not more than the number provided. So that was under house arrest. As for detention without trial, as I said, both of them there was no trial. By trial means you have to go to, in Kenya we have three types of courts which are legal. There is the religious court, which is the Kadhi's court. There is the law courts, and there is the martial court. You are not taken to any, uh, and both of them uh, were carried under. There was a law, I can't recall the law how it was called properly, but let me just make a guess. It was either prevention, no, or preservation of security act. Yeah, it was called preservation of security act or something like that. It used to state this way. It used to start this way. One is arrested, and the family and friends enter a habeas corpus. When you are arrested and your family cannot trace you, the family enters habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is produce the body, whether dead or alive. The government is supposed to produce the body. Now, this on the hearing date, the court would set a hearing date. On the hearing date, the prosecution branch would come up with the Kenya Gazette, where the Minister of State in the office of the President, which today we call Internal Affairs Minister, on the hearing date, the Minister for State in the office of the President would produce the Kenya Gazette, published in he'll produce a Kenya Gazette which has published your detention order and give it to the court. Once the magistrate or judge receives it, he says, "My hands are tied. I cannot question uh, the detention order." That one used to happen uh, in detention, but under house arrest, you could go to court and say, "I'm trying to visit my relative," or I'm trying to leave my place and I'm restrained or whatever." And when your people now go to court, because you cannot leave the compound, when your people go to court, they are shown the orders to detain you under house arrest. In prison, those are detainees who are sent to prison. you'd spend hours, that is 23 hours and 30 minutes, without work and under lock and key. You just idle there for months and even years. You just idle there for months and even years with only two books to read. With only two books to read. One book was the Bible, and the other one is the Quran in English. They are given a 30 minutes break for the sunshine. They used to be given 30 minutes break for the sunshine, and there was even a crime there, if you can call it a crime. There was a crime that used to be called kuiba jua. Now, how can somebody steal the sun? Now, what used to happen is that once you discovered that your 30 minutes are about to end, you'd run to the other end of the field. And when you run to the other end of the field, you'll be the prison wardens would come and really beat you up. So it is better to have 40 minutes of sun while you are beaten. The pain can, because 10 minutes is too much. I mean, if you compare, you have only to have sunshine for 30 minutes a day. The time for sunshine was made in such a way that only one detainee would go to bask at a time. Of course, if Koigi or Mwere and Martin Shikuku would meet during sun time, they could exchange ideas. So they would set so and so to be on the sun at such a time. Then after half an hour, he's taken back and so on. Njeru Gadhangu Mheshimiwa stayed for months or even years between two madmen, which he never met. Now, in every you used to be placed in a room, which I could say maybe it is 6 by 6. I could say that your cell was in such a way that they place a mad man on one side and another mad person, because those cells were placed in such a way that you could communicate. Now, placing Koigi Wamwere and Martin Shikuku in 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 cells that follow each other would be problematic, because they'll still talk. They'll still have talk. It's only that they'll not meet. And also, there was also a way of trying to make these detainees be mad. There was a way of making these detainees be mad because imagine being placed between two madmen. So if there are three detainees and there are five, let's say there are two detainees and there are three madmen. You see, there would be a madman detainee, a madman detainee, madman. What I'm trying to say is that Madare and Kamiti, during those days, we had people who were detained on mental problem. So one of the madmen who was next to Njeru Gadhangu would spend 20 hours a day, 20 hours a day, say driving. So he would start 20 hours a day. Now one day he did do that, and Jeru Gadhangu, you can confirm with him. You can confirm with him. Unajua hii kazi ya kufanya na NIS, you get a lot of information. Now he was next to a madman, and this madman used to spend the whole more than 15 hours a day. Then one day that man did not make that noise. And you see, when you stay there, you ask each other questions. I mean, you even know each other's names, but you've never met. So Jeru Gadhangu asked that man, you knew that man's name. He knew that man's name. So that day when he did do that, Jeru Gadhangu called him. You have to be concerned. Maybe he's sick or he has been released. So one day he did do that, and Jeru Gadhangu called him. He called him by name. Huyu akaitika. And then he told him, kwani nini imetendeka leo? Sisikii gari. Because Jerugadhangu was concerned. You see, that is the only contact, apart from the prison warders who bring him food. He had no other contact. It is only the mad people next to him on both sides. But this one used to drive the vehicle, if you can see that, drive the vehicle throughout. Then one day he was not driving. So Njeru Gadhangu was concerned. Is this person been released? Is he dead? Is he whatever, whatever? So he called him, and the madman answered back, hey, Gadhangu was happy because the man was now not dead or hurt. He said, nini mbaya na gari? Said gari iliharibika iko garage.